You have not failed because you are weak. You have failed because you are building discipline on sand. Every morning you wake up with intention. Every night you review the wreckage, the work that did not get done, the session you skipped, the hour that dissolved into a screen. And somewhere in that gap between intention and execution, you decided the problem was you. It is not you. It is the absence of a system. Discipline without structure is just willpower. And willpower is the most unreliable resource a man can depend on. It is finite. It depletes before noon for most men. It crumbles under stress, under hunger, under boredom, under the first notification that arrives when you are supposed to be focused. You have been told that disciplined men are built differently, that they feel less temptation, that they push through where others fold. That is not what the research shows. What the research shows is that disciplined men engineer their environment so that pushing through is rarely required. That is the difference, and everything begins there. Here's what is actually happening inside your brain every time you sit down to work. Your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for planning, focus, and long-term decision making, is in constant competition with your limbic system. The limbic system is older, faster, and it is wired for immediate reward. Every time a notification arrives, every time boredom surfaces, every time the work gets heavy, the limbic system fires. It requests relief, and it does not ask politely. It sends a chemical signal that registers as genuine discomfort. That discomfort is not weakness. It is biology. But here's what most men do not understand. Every time you respond to that signal by reaching for distraction, you are not just wasting time. You are training the circuit. You are teaching your brain that discomfort leads to relief through escape. The pathway strengthens, the threshold lowers, and over months the tolerance for sustained effort shrinks. This is dopamine conditioning, and it is operating in you right now at a level most men never examine. There is a second mechanism compounding this. It is called decision fatigue. Every choice you make, what to eat, what to wear, which task to start, whether to check your phone, draws from the same cognitive reservoir. By the time a man raised in a high stimulation digital environment reaches the work that actually matters, that reservoir is frequently depleted. He is not lazy. He is cognitively exhausted before the day has begun. Willpower placed on top of a depleted system does not hold. It never did. The solution is not more effort. The solution is a system that removes the need for constant decision making before the decision fatigue arrives. Most men who consume self-improvement content understand this at some level. They have heard about dopamine. They have heard about environment design. They have watched the videos. They have taken the notes. And then they have gone back to the same patterns by Wednesday. This is the internal war. And it is not between discipline and laziness. It is between the man who knows what needs to be done and the man who has built an environment that makes doing it nearly impossible. One part of you holds the vision, the work, the standard, the version of yourself you are trying to construct. It is clear, it is real, it is not abstract. You know exactly who you are trying to become. The other part of you lives inside the environment you have built. A phone on the desk. No defined start time. No boundary between rest and work. No pre-decided sequence of tasks. Just intention floating in open space. An intention without architecture collapses every single time. This is where most self-improvement content fails you. It gives you more identity, more clarity on who you want to be, more vision, more why. And identity is essential. But identity without structure is a philosophy. It does not execute. It does not sit down at a specific time and begin a specific task without negotiating. It does not protect your focus from a world that is professionally engineered to disrupt it. You can believe in yourself completely and still achieve nothing. If the system is absent, the belief has nowhere to land. Here is what no one in this space will say directly. The self-improvement content you are consuming may be making the problem worse. Every video watched, every framework noted, every insight collected produces a small dopamine release. It feels like progress. Your brain registers it as movement. You feel the satisfaction of a man who is working on himself. But the behavior has not changed. The environment has not changed. The system has not been built. You are feeding the part of yourself that wants to feel like you are improving without doing the thing that actually produces improvement. That is the trap, and it is specifically designed to capture men who are intelligent enough to want more but undisciplined enough in their structure to stay in the research phase indefinitely. Most men never realize this. They believe the gap between knowing and doing is a motivation problem, so they consume more content to generate more motivation. The motivation arrives. It lasts 48 hours. Then the environment reasserts itself. The phone is still on the desk. The mornings are still undefined. The tasks are still a floating mental list with no architecture around them. And the cycle repeats. The brutal truth is this: you do not need another insight. You do not need a better understanding of your psychology. You need a system that operates regardless of how you feel on a given morning. A system that does not ask your emotional state for permission. A system that begins because the clock says it begins, not because you feel ready. Readiness is a feeling. Structure is a decision. Now here's where the reframe matters. This is not an argument against identity. Identity is the foundation. A man who does not know who he is building will not protect the system long enough for it to compound. But identity must be translated into architecture. Otherwise, it remains aspiration. Think of it this way. A man decides he is someone who does not negotiate with discomfort. That is an identity statement. That is powerful. But if he wakes up with no defined time to begin work, no environment that removes digital access, no pre-committed sequence of tasks, then at 9:14 in the morning when the discomfort arrives, he will negotiate. Not because he lied about his identity, but because the system was not there to make the decision before the feeling arrived. Structure is how identity becomes behavior. When the environment is designed correctly, when the time is blocked, when the task is pre-decided, when the phone is removed, the man does not need to consult his willpower. The decision was already made. He sits down because that is what the structure says happens at this time. The negotiation never begins. This is the difference between a man who disciplines himself through force of will every single day, which is exhausting and eventually fails, and a man who builds a system that disciplines him automatically. One is fighting constantly. The other engineered the fight out of the equation. That is the goal. Not more effort. Smarter architecture. Step 1 is environmental control. This is non-negotiable and it comes first. Your environment is not neutral. It is either pulling you toward the work or pulling you away from it. Every object in your workspace transmits a behavioral cue. A phone on your desk is not just a phone. It is a continuous low-level negotiation demanding cognitive resources just by being present, and research on this is clear. The mere presence of a smartphone reduces available cognitive capacity even when it is face down and silent. Remove it from the room, not silence it. Remove it. Design your physical space so that the path of least resistance leads toward work. One screen, one task visible. Nothing that requires a decision before the session begins. Your environment should make starting automatic and stopping effortful. Reverse the architecture of distraction. Step 2 is time blocking with hard edges. Not a to-do list, not a general intention to work in the morning. A specific block with a defined start, a defined end, and a single defined output. The brain responds differently to bounded time. When the end of a session is visible, focus sharpens. When the task is singular, cognitive load drops. When the start time is non-negotiable, the morning negotiation disappears. You do not decide to begin. The clock decides. You simply execute. Step 3 is pre-commitment. The night before, you decide exactly what the first 90 minutes of the following day contains. Not a list of options, one task. Pre-decided, written, visible when you wake. This removes the most dangerous moment of the day, the morning gap where a tired mind is asked to make a high-stakes decision about where to direct its limited focus. Pre-commitment closes that gap before it opens. Step 4 is decision load reduction. Every unnecessary decision you eliminate before the work begins is cognitive fuel preserved for execution. This is why high-performing men standardize the trivial. Same morning sequence, same workspace setup, same first task. Not because they lack creativity, because they understand that cognitive resources spent on low-value decisions are unavailable for high-value ones. Audit your morning. Count the number of decisions that occur before you begin the work that matters, then eliminate as many as possible. Automate the trivial so that the important receives your full capacity. Step 5 is identity reinforcement through system compliance. Every time you follow the structure, every time you begin at the defined time, complete the pre-decided task, protect the environment you designed, you are not just completing a task. You are providing your nervous system with evidence. Evidence that you are a man who builds and maintains systems. Evidence that the structure is real, that it holds. This is how identity and structure reinforce each other. Identity motivates the construction of the system. The system produces behavior. The behavior generates evidence. The evidence strengthens the identity. The cycle compounds. Break the system once and you break the cycle. But hold it, even imperfectly, even when the feeling is absent, and you are building something that becomes progressively easier to maintain over time. The system protects the identity. The identity protects the system. You do not need more motivation. You do not need a new morning routine discovered in a 90-second clip. You do not need to feel inspired before you begin. You need 4 walls around your focus, a defined time, a pre-decided task, an environment that does not negotiate with your weakest impulses, and a commitment to the system that operates independently of how you feel on a given morning. That is it. That is the entire architecture. Most men will watch this, feel the clarity, and change nothing. Because changing nothing is what the current system, the one built by accident, by habit, by distraction, is designed to produce. Inertia protects itself. The environment you tolerate today is training the man you will be in 6 months. The man who executes consistently is not more gifted. He is more structured. He removed the negotiation. He made the decision before the discomfort arrived. He built a system and then he honored it. Stop diagnosing yourself as undisciplined. Start building what undisciplined environments cannot survive. Structure is not a constraint on who you are. It is the condition under which who you are becomes visible.